Welcome. In this explainer, we're going to dig into the verifiable data behind Paraguay's growing reputation as a destination for digital professionals. We're going to cut through all the online hype and just stick to the evidence. So, is Paraguay really the smart move for people like us? You hear a lot of chatter online about the benefits, the tax system, the residency process, but how much of it is actually true? Our goal here is to put those claims to the test using official data from sources like the IMF and the country's own national authorities. All right, here's how we're going to break this down. We're going to follow a clear path, starting with the big economic picture to see if the foundation is even solid. Then we'll get into the details that really matter: residency, banking, taxes, and of course, the real-world infrastructure you'd have to rely on every single day. Okay, let's dive right in. Before we even start talking about perks like taxes, we have to look at the country's overall economic health. Is the foundation actually solid? Well, according to the International Monetary Fund, the answer looks pretty good. After that period of global inflation that hit everyone, Paraguay's central bank has managed to get core inflation right back down into its target range. And that signals some really effective monetary policy and a real commitment to keeping prices stable. Now, what's really interesting here is the currency itself. You can see the Paraguayan guaraní charting a much, much smoother course than many of its neighbors. And for anyone earning or investing in a foreign currency, that kind of stability is absolutely crucial. It creates a predictable environment, which is exactly what you want. And this slide really highlights a huge milestone. S&P Global Ratings recently upgraded Paraguay to investment grade. Now, that isn't just a fancy headline, it's an official classification that tells the world the country's risk is considered low, and that is critical for attracting serious, large-scale investment. So, the data points to a stable economy. That's a great start. But how do you actually get in and manage your finances? This is where the practicalities really start to kick in. The legal process for getting residency is actually very clearly laid out. It all starts with a 2-year temporary permit. That gets you the most important document you'll need, the national ID card, or Cédula. From that point on, there's a clear pathway to getting permanent status and even citizenship if you decide to stay. However, and this is a big one, this is where we see a fundamental challenge pop up. The evidence shows that while getting residency is pretty accessible and quick, the banking system is a whole different beast. It's exceptionally strict. This is mostly because of tough international anti-money laundering rules, which means getting a full-service bank account is a completely separate and much more difficult hurdle to clear. All right, let's move on to the single feature that gets the most attention. The reason so many people are looking at Paraguay in the first place: its unique tax system. So the most important thing to understand is this definition right here. This is not a no-tax system. It's a system that defines what's taxable based on just one thing: location. The only question that matters is, where was the income generated? For income that's generated locally, and this is key because this includes services you provide from your desk in Paraguay to clients anywhere else in the world, the tax rates are really low and they're progressive, topping out at just 10%. And here it is. This is the number that is absolutely central to Paraguay's appeal: 0%. That's the tax on income from foreign sources. We're talking investments, dividends, capital gains from assets you hold abroad. On top of that, there's no wealth tax, no inheritance tax, and no gift tax. That's huge. So a great tax system is really compelling, but it doesn't mean much if you can't reliably run your business. So the question is, can the country's infrastructure actually support digital work? The data here shows, well, a bit of a mixed reality. Okay, first, the good news. The data tells us that fixed-line internet is strong, and it's getting better. A median download speed of 94 megabits per second is definitely competitive for the region, and it's more than enough for what most digital professionals need. Now, here's where we get to a paradox. Paraguay is an absolute energy giant. Thanks to the massive Itaipun Dam, it generates a huge surplus of clean, renewable energy, way more than the entire nation even consumes. But, and this is a really significant but, the country's distribution grid is old, and it struggles to deliver all that power reliably. Reports and data all point to frequent power cuts, especially during the hot summer months. And that creates a serious operational risk for anyone who depends on being connected 24/7. So after looking at all this evidence, from the macroeconomy all the way down to the infrastructure realities, let's put it all together. For which types of people is Paraguay, with its unique set of conditions, actually a good fit? The evidence is pretty clear that Paraguay works for specific profiles. It's a strong fit for investors who have 100% foreign-sourced income. It's great for entrepreneurs who are focused on business within South America's big trade bloc, Mercosur. And it's for people who have the patience for a multi-year process and see those low taxes as a worthwhile trade-off for tricky banking. On the other hand, the data reveals some clear challenges for other profiles. If you're a freelancer who needs frictionless global banking immediately, it's going to be tough. If you're a remote worker with zero tolerance for power outages, the documented facts present a real hurdle. The same goes for anyone who needs to be completely set up and operational in just a few months. In the end, the data doesn't really paint a picture of a simple digital paradise. Instead, it shows a complex equation. What you have is a jurisdiction with truly significant fiscal advantages. But those advantages are constrained by tangible, structural realities on the ground. So the decision to move there really comes down to a clear trade-off between world-class tax incentives and some very real-world operational hurdles.